On today's episode, guys, I'm answering a viewer question on how to do sit-ups correctly for beginners, as well as 4 common sit-up mistakes. So here was today's viewer question. Brad, I still can't complete a full sit-up where I can go all the way up. I can only make it halfway up. Any good suggestions for me? Well, if I understand the question correctly, it sounds like you can only complete a half sit-up. Now, this would be very similar to an exercise called the crunch. And although the crunch still targets your abdominals and your core, completing a full sit-up can be important to certain people. And these people include people completing fitness testing for the military, the FBI, and the police academy. Now, before I share a few simple tips on how to correctly do a full sit-up, let me first address why the sit-up has been widely criticized. Sit-ups can be bad for your back and your spine when you complete them with bad form, but that is true for any exercise. So let me quickly get into the 4 mistakes that people do with the sit-ups. Sit-up mistake number 1, pulling on your neck. So typically the sit-up can be bad for your spine when you pull on your neck to initiate the sit-up rather than contracting your abs to pull your ribs towards your pelvis. Sit-up mistake number 2, incorrect pelvis position. Now, the sit-up can also be bad for your lower back depending on the positioning of your pelvis during the beginning and the end of the range of motion. So one of the key coaching cues that I like to do with the sit-up is to start and finish the sit-up with your pelvis maintaining a posterior tilt. Now this means your lower back should be flat against the floor during the beginning position of the sit-up. In other words, you should not have an arch or room to slide your hand between the floor and your lower back. Now, one of the main causes of back pain can be caused by completing a sit-up with your pelvis in that anterior tilt position where you can put your hand under your lower back. And the reason for this is it can cause a strain on your spine. Now, sit-up mistake number 3, relaxing your abs between reps. It's important that you fully lengthen and shorten your abs during the sit-up without allowing them to relax. So as you lower your upper torso back towards the floor, you're lengthening the abs, but once you feel that contraction is gone, you've gone too far. Now, this typically happens when you lay your head back on the ground in between reps. Don't do this. Make sure you keep your head off the floor so you don't lose the contraction at the bottom of the sit-up. Now, by keeping your head off the floor, it can also help keep your pelvis in that posterior position. So before losing contraction at the bottom of the sit-up, rise back up and complete another rep. And this is also true for if you go up too high during the sit-up to the point where you no longer feel a contraction in your abs. Stop and lower back down until you feel the contraction again. Stay in that range of motion so you always have your core and abs engaged. So remember to think about bringing your ribs towards your pelvis and staying in the range of motion where your stomach and abs are always contracted. Sit-up mistake number 4, not contracting or breathing properly. Now remember, to sculpt your abs, think about the quality of the contraction. This is much more important than how many reps you can do or how fast you can do them. During the contraction, think about tightening and pulling your lower abs inward as you exhale. So it's not an exhale where you loosen your abs and push them out. This can give you that bloated abs look that we talked about last week. Remember to keep your lower abs contracted and pulled in as if you were pulling your belly button toward your spine. Also think about sucking in your obliques toward your midline as you exhale. So this coaching cue will help you pull in and contract your abs at the same time, and this is one of the best training tips to create a slimmer waist. Okay, now with all that said, here are the 2 beginner tips on how to complete a full sit-up correctly for beginners. Number 1, anchor your feet so they are flat on the floor. Now, there are many items you can use to anchor your feet flat to the floor, including a pair of dumbbells, a couch, or a partner. Now, when you anchor your feet flat to the floor, it can help provide leverage to raise your upper body all the way to the top of the sit-up. But if you're going to do this, just remember to keep your pelvis in that posterior tilt position by not lowering it and resting your head back to the floor. And tip number 2, use your arms to create a little bit of momentum. So although it's important that the contraction in the abs is the primary cause of the sit-up, you can also use your arms to create a little momentum. Now you can do this by extending your arms forward as you sit up, or simply bring your elbows in front of your body rather than being flared out to the sides. This arm placement will really help you complete a full sit-up. But if you're going to use that momentum to lift your upper torso up, as you lower your body back towards the floor, focus on controlling the movement in a slow and controlled manner. Remember, contraction, not speed when training abs. So hopefully you enjoyed that episode, guys. Today's question of the day is, what is your favorite ab exercise and how often do you train your abs per week? Comment down below with your answers.